Scrappy Peep, Suzanna here today for myself to share with you this layout. It is a sketch inspired layout, and it is week 16 of Allison Davis's Scrapbook Generation Sketches for 6x6 paper pads. So that was the left page, this is the right hand side page, and this sketch, which I just quickly showed you there, but I can't show you, I've told you this before, because they are sketches that we have paid for and part of a class. I have also told you before, and I'll tell you again, if you are interested in taking this class, Allison is running round 2 of this. So what you do is you pay for the class over on the Scrapbook Generation site, and then that will give you a paid code, and you can use that to then join the Facebook group. So this is a 2-page sketch, and it calls for 5 photos. And again, the class is a 6x6 paper pads sketch class, so I have been trying to use my paper pads. So I am working with the Bright Side from Fancy Pants. It is an older collection. Most of my paper pads are older, and I am trying to use up my stash. So I recently posted a Tuesday morning haul, and there are lots of paper stacks that are available. And so this is one of the Paige Evans papers. So I have 25 of this collection, or that particular, the yellow, the background that I taped together. And so I decided that I wanted that to be a background instead of my traditional white background that I use, because I have lots of pattern paper and I want to use, start using the things that I buy. And when I buy them, I want to try and use them right away, because I've found that the longer things sit in my stash, the less inclined I am to use them. So I have taped them together so that I can work like I like to do without having, so I can see that continuity when I'm working on 2-page spreads. And in the sketch, it calls for a lot of these vertical banner stripes. So I am working with these vertical banner stripes. I'm going to start cutting them, you'll see, and then I am going to change my mind. I thought the black that on either side of that triangle base there would be a nice way to kind of ground the photos and tie the darkness that are in the photos into the layout. But you'll see that I changed my mind on that, that it kind of ends up being, it stands out like a sore thumb. And I also didn't like the idea of having to cut, I don't even know how many of those banners there are, but that go all the way across the page. I felt like it was too busy for what I like. And so you can see here, I'm playing with other ideas of how am I going to be able to get pattern paper all the way across horizontally without having to make a million banners. I toyed with the idea of making bigger banners, but I really liked this black. And I know it is a huge contrast to this square of triangles on the other side, but you'll see how it all comes together. I really like it. I know there are some of you who probably won't like it, but it's my page and I like it. And I do really like the way that it makes the photos pop. There's something about 2-page layouts when the photos are all kissing, which these aren't. These are overlapping, which I really like. There's something about the way, there's something different about 2-page layouts. And I like the way that the black of this makes the photos stand out. So in the sketch, it calls for flowers as the embellishment, and I actually really like the florals. So what I've done here is I have used Nicole's free cut file. So Nicole releases free cut files over on SCT, the Scrapbook and Cards Today website. And this is her latest free digital cut file. I have manipulated it. It is a group of flowers. I wanted them to be separate, that I could create my own group to go with the florals that are in this Fancy Pants collection. But I will link you to that free cut file down below. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So I only did one floral there because I wanted to get the idea of how I was going to build and construct the rest of this layout. If you know me, I do all of my fine tuning at the end, but I really work on the overall format first of all. The other thing that I want to point out to you as I'm laying these things down, those are from Ellie's Studio chipboard. She recently had a major sale and cleared out some of the kits, and I picked up a couple of her kits because I've never played with them before. The other thing that that I'm working with here, that is Photo Play. Again, an old collection, and so I've pulled bits and pieces here. The sketch does call for stitching around those triangles. So those are 6 by 6 cut on a horizontal, and I have stitched black around each of those triangles to create the square. Something I want to point out here is, as I was creating earlier, I had moved that green and the red in opposite corners of the layout, and I actually really like the green on the other side, but I now realize why I left the red where it is, because I'm going to use that red again to tie that square on the right hand side into the left hand side of the page, and doing it with the green stripe would have been very different. So I have this floral that goes, it's a pattern paper. You can see that I've got on that right hand side, and as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I actually had the matching piece of that on the left hand side of the page, and I liked the way that it tied together, but the contrast between the black and the white bothered me. It should have gone the other way around, like the floral been the bigger and then a smaller strip of the black, and so I'm going to use that red to actually tie it all in together. But I also wanted to pull a little bit of that black from the left hand side over to that right hand side, and that's why you've got that really thin strip of black going down the side there. And that was one of the 6 by 6 banners that I had originally cut. So as I'm putting these pictures down, yes, I do have one photo that is going to cross both pages. I like the way that it ties it together. And that brings me back to the sketch to explain to you that there are actually originally only 4 2 by 5 by 3 by 5 photos on that left-hand page. And then there's a big gap between the photos on the left-hand page and then the photo that's on the right-hand page. And that tends to bother me. That's just one of my design elements that I get nitpicky about. I feel like that gap just creates too much of a pause, and I like continuity, especially on a 2-page layout. So I actually added a 5th photo, which was fine because I wanted the 5th photo, and I felt like it moved your eye closer to the right hand side page, and it brought unity to it. So some people like their two-page spreads because they're actually 2 distinct things that just happen to be united by the same topic. I like unity to move from page to page, and so by putting that 5th photo, I was able to close that gap and make my design requirements work better for me. So each of these photos are overlapping, and they are intentionally skiwampus. I like that sort of randomness to them, although you can see that they're not very random in my placement. Part of it was trying to get you to be able to see all of the bits of the photo that I wanted you to see. So I have this banner that says Better Together. These photos are about when we went to adopt our kittens. So many of you who have followed me on this journey know that in June we had to put our cat to sleep. And we have decided that it's time to add to the family again. And we went to the Richmond Animal Control something, Richmond Animal CNC. I forget what CNC is. Care and something center. Anyway, we went to adopt kittens. So my husband had made an appointment to meet these 2 that we saw online. And so that's what the title of this layout is going to end up being, Meeting Our New Family. So they are sisters. And they now have names. When we went to meet them at the shelter, they had funny names, Hammock and Twirling Baton, I think. So the one on the left, most left, the tortoiseshell tuxedo, she was Twirling Baton, and then the gray kitten was Hammock. They have been renamed since. So again, this is that floral that I was referring to from Nicole. I have backed a few of them with the pink that comes in this Fancy Pants collection, and then the 2 larger ones were a pink from my stash. Again, just for a little bit of variety there. I fast forwarded through, I actually skipped me laboriously putting the liquid glue behind each of those, because really it gets boring after a while. And then I also skipped through me cutting each and every single one of those out. It's the exact same process. I just put liquid glue and then I fussy cut around it. And if I happened to cut that outer border of the flower, that was fine because I liked the randomness of that. So I pretty much stuck to what Allison has on her sketch with the 3 flowers and then some floral. So the green florals that I'm using, green leaves that I'm using there are actually the leaves that came with the free file from SC&T. I am going to pull some additional greens out, and I am actually going to turn the camera off and use my silhouette to cut a few more of those leaves. I wanted a little bit more greenery just to pull more color into that. So I have pretty much stuck to the sketch other than not using the banners all the way down the side. And again, that's the great thing about sketches is you can absolutely adjust them to what works for you. Just as I decided to machine stitch instead of hand stitch. I like the way that the black stitching pulls it all together. So that card behind the photo is also from Ellie's studio, and I just like the way that it added some color behind the photo and kind of pulled everything together because it's a similar color palette. Chipboard from Ellie's studio, and as I'm putting that down, I realize that I still have the mat behind my pages because that's what I used to cut that photo with. So I've pretty much got the bulk of all of the big things. Now it's just time to go in and put in those fine details. So again, I have the sticker sheet from Photo Play as well as some of the embellishments that I liked the color palette. It complemented the one that I'm working with from Fancy Pants. And so I'm going to put that little banner that says hello friend in there. I like the way that it's the same color pink or a similar color pink to the florals, and just instead of just that one little flower sitting there by itself, it gives you that same illusion of the circle with the floral to tie that in so that you can see that very obvious visual triangle of those flowers, but yet there's a different element in there. So these are just the little flowers and hearts that I'm going to tie in, again trying to pull the same color palette as the yellow, blue, red and green that are in there. You'll see there isn't a lot of blue in there, and I do want to incorporate a little bit more blue. The Photo Play collection that I was working with, Embellishments, didn't have that, so I'm going to pull that in from somewhere else. Sorry, that was off camera. I'm just using a little bit of foam to pop that flower up there. So this is where I've pulled in a few more of the digitals, and I have used, that is an Echo Park manual die that I've just, what pattern paper? I'm not sure what pattern paper I used there. I think I just, honestly, I know what it is. I went into my scraps and I just pulled a darker green just for some variety in the colors there. I'm laughing, sorry. I know I'm doing a voiceover, but one of the kittens has just come up and sat down in one of my Ellie's studio boxes and is squashing everything in there. Okay. Sorry, back to, I digress. So when I do 2-page layouts, I do try and have, if I can, a photo that either butts right up to the seams between the 2 pages or one that crosses. And I also like to try and put at least an element that crosses as well. Again, that's for that continuity that I referred to earlier that I like. So here I'm just trying to find a flow for this greenery. You know, when you have a flower bouquet, you want things to literally flow. So when you think of like a bridal bouquet, you want that to flow. It's the same thing with the greenery here. I kind of want to provide that continuous movement around the corner and not just this random kind of thing that pops out. And so that's what I'm kind of playing with here, is trying to find that flow. That's how I tend to want to be with my design, is flow and continuity. So I love the way that those flowers and that greenery just kind of ties everything together. It breaks up the rigidity of the triangles in the block, as well as that solidness of the black behind. So you can see how that black works. Yeah, Yeah, I do wish that I had stitched on the left-hand side of the page again for that continuity, and I could go back in and do it. I would do it over that red at the end there. I would probably do a zigzag stitch, but because I've already got the photo down, and really it's not that big of a deal, I will not go back in off camera and do that. This is where I pull a little bit more of that blue into the left-hand page. These are my Ellie Studio die cuts. I have designed for Ellie Studio, I think for 2 years now, coming up on 2 years, and I have things that I had from before that. And so what I did was I went in and I have, it's actually a tea bag storage container unit, and so there's little drawers, and each drawer has a different color of my year's worth of Ellie Studio elements, and I love that when I can find things by color in there. So now it's time to work on the title. I love that family that's there, and when I work on my titles, I like to mix and match fonts. So I'm using this yellow for meeting, and then I know I'm going to do family with that black. And again, I like the way that the black in that title ties in the weight of the black to that left-hand side of the page. And then I'm going to use some small letter stickers from Adorn It. There are no more, but they've lasted me for so long. I'm going to use those to finish off the title that will say Our New. And that, my friends, is going to be pretty much the extent of the layout. I am going to journal below the photos on the left-hand side. I'm going to just hand journal. And again, I don't do that on camera just because it takes way too long. And sometimes I feel like these videos are long enough as it is. So thank you for stopping in today. Again, I will link you to where you can sign up for that class if you would like to join in on the fun. So you'll start from the beginning of some of these sketches that you've already seen me do. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you are doing well, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.